Yes, well, just to continue on what has already been said, and I suppose part of in discussions with Todor and his community or his group was what is the benefit for the community and for the individual. So I'm just going to briefly talk about the history of the Templederry wind farm and how community power was set up. And again, every country is different, and we have had challenges just with the regulatory and bureaucratic delays. It came about in 1999, and Templederry wind farm, an entity was set up in 2000, and there was shares offered to the local community. 32 local people, from the shopkeeper to the school teacher to the farmer to numerous people locally, all purchased shares, and 2 shares were held for the local development cooperative. And the concept was 1 share, 1 vote. And as you can see, that the local development cooperative, having 2 shares, was the largest kind of shareholder in the wind farm itself. So it was set up in 2000, and it took 12 years, from 2000 to 2012, to actually get the turbines turning. There was a delay with the grid. There was a moratorium on grid connections because the DSO was upgrading. Planning permission, we had delays, and then we were trying to finance it during the economic collapse, which took huge challenges. We overcame them all, and we managed to get the turbines installed and turning. They're 2.3 megawatts each, which is 4.6 megawatts, and it was officially opened in September 2013. So what I'm focusing on here is the benefit, and maybe that can be demonstrated through the company structure. And we have, and part of the Power Ecom project is that we are currently researching different types of business entities and what is the best vehicle. Is it a cooperative? Is it a limited company? Is it a company limited by guarantee? So the structure of Templederry, you'll see in the very center, it has the Templederry Energy Resources and has 32 shares. And then off that is the Templederry Development Cooperative. And in order to get the wind turbine or the wind farm built, they set up Templederry Wind Farm, which is 100% owned by Templederry Energy Resources. So everything comes back to the center, Templederry Energy Resources. The 3 entities on the line all the way across are limited companies. So Templederry Energy Resources is a limited company, Templederry Wind Farm is a limited company, and Community Power Templederry Energy Resources is a limited company. And part of the reason for that was, particularly in Ireland, if you're trying to raise finance, the mainstream banks and institutions, they do not like dealing with cooperatives or CLGs. They're more comfortable to give a loan to a limited company. The challenge with limited companies in Ireland is that you're limited to 150 shareholders. That is the maximum. So, as I said, part of the Power Ecom is looking at alternative models, and limited companies are one vehicle that can be used if they're 100% owned by the community. And then underneath, we have set up an entity called our Community Limited by Guarantee, and that is particularly a representation organization for communities to lobby the government to try and change policy and to support energy communities. And this just goes into a little bit more detail as what I was talking about in relation to the actual structure, and Templederry Energy Resources, as I say, is the holding company. All the other entities below that are limited companies, but they are owned by the holding company. So back to when we started, we had an idea, and out of that we have ended up with a number of different companies, all providing employment and also potentially will influence policy in Ireland. And we have already been involved in a number of policy changes to support the concept of community-owned energy generation. And when we look to the future, then we are looking at, we have community power in the centre, and over to the left-hand side, you will see the Templederry Energy Resources, which is the holding company. And the idea is that we reduce our shareholding in energy resources, and that is given to other communities around the country. The ones in dark blue, you have Claremorris Energy Cooperative, that we have helped them develop a solar farm. It is not built yet, but it's quite advanced. But they have the potential to be part owner of community power. The same in Galway. This is another solar farm, 5 megawatt, which we are supporting this community. And again, the idea is that they would take part ownership of community power, which is the utility company, where the idea, which has been demonstrated in Austria as to what's possible, where you can generate and supply locally from a generation point of view. And we're trying to figure out how the ownership concept will work within a wider context. And there's opportunity for other energy cooperatives to become shareholders in community power in the future. So I think a lot of these have already been discussed as to what are the benefits, and potential independence. There's ownership, and people can have shareholders or shareholding within locally owned generation projects. And there is the potential for dividends. I suppose our experience is that none of the community in Templederry have taken a dividend. All the revenue streams has been reinvested in supporting other communities to get community projects off the ground. And that is a decision that was made by Templederry. They could decide to take a small dividend if they want, but again, it's a locally based cooperative community decision that's made in relation to policy and how the dividend or the excess money is spent. And from a local employment opportunities, there are now 5 staff paid in community power, and this is a direct result of a local community wind farm. So it practically demonstrates how employment can be created locally. And it also gives an opportunity for democratic governance and principles can be applied to the legal structure. And it also offers opportunities to develop local energy sharing and energy services. And you can see again from Austria and Slovenia, they are quite advanced. We still have bureaucratic challenges for that. We only have 1 DSO in Ireland. Most other countries would have numerous DSOs. So it's kind of a monopoly situation, and we are challenging our DSO to open up and become more amenable to communities and what we're trying to do. And it's great to see examples across Europe. So every country has different challenges. So from an individual perspective, it offers the individual an opportunity to invest in their local community and in their local area. and it has been demonstrated it has the potential to provide cheaper electricity locally. And yeah, shares potentially can be offered and passed to future generations. I know that Suez Canal is a really good example of how shares were offered. It was predominantly in France and UK, but they became intergenerational shares that were passed from generation to generation. And these type of community-based projects have that potential as well. And again, once built, local people can take pride in what they have accomplished and their achievements. And also, obviously, from an education point of view, we are trying to increase the understanding from a local perspective of how the electricity system works. And education and knowledge is power, really. So the more people that are aware and familiar, the better. And it also helps with the energy transition that we all have a responsibility for, to move away from fossil fuels and to have renewable generation in our local communities. So that's a very quick overview of the benefits from a community and from an individual perspective.